actually has several origins. First of all, as we know in MIST and actually in CSUMB generally, we have lots and lots of students who either don't have English as a first language, or in lots of instances in MIST don't have, were not educated in the United States, at least did not receive their early educations in the United States. So that was, those were two of the reasons that Dr. Tao asked me to specifically do this project, and I don't know what button to push to advance the slides.
Arrow to the right.
Ah, thank you. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's me. I own a small consultancy, and have done that work for many, many years. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and that's where I started. I created a 6-unit module that focuses specifically on peer review, because the topic of writing for scholarly journals is pretty huge. So we started with peer review. It's delivered via Moodle. It's not iLearn. It's a different implementation of Moodle called ULearn, but it's essentially the same thing. It's a little bit, that implementation is a little more primitive than iLearn, so there's some things that it doesn't do quite as well. And so I created the module, I beta tested it, and I reported the results. Why did I do it? Primarily because the world is shrinking and knowledge is expanding exponentially. Not only is knowledge expanding exponentially, our access to knowledge is expanding even faster. The dilemma is, how do we know what's fact and what isn't? How do we know that what we know is really factual and even perhaps worth knowing? How can we be sure? One of the ways we can be sure is through scholarly research that includes peer review. So a scholar does research, writes it up, reports it, and it's then reviewed by other equally knowledgeable scholars. That's one of the ways that we can know that or be much more sure that information is in fact accurate. So the objectives that I intended for students to come out with at the end of my module were to be able to identify and describe key features of scholarly journals, scholarly articles, and the peer review process itself, to define peer review, and to discuss arguments for and against peer review, because there is a whole bunch of folks out there that think that peer review is a waste of time and doesn't accomplish the goal that it sets out to accomplish. So I want students to be aware of those objections to the process and to be able to discuss them intelligently and make their own decisions about what they think. How did I do it? I designed and prototyped it in PowerPoint. Then and if you've ever done this, then you already know that the advantage of PowerPoint is that it's very fast, very visual, very easy to get things done, and it's flexible. I then moved it into Captivate at that point and created actually quite a lot of interaction in Captivate before we decided that it needed to go on Moodle, which meant that I had to do a little bit of redesign, but that was okay, it worked fine. Then created modules in the units in Moodle, uploaded the assets, hooked everything together, and then recruited beta testers, which was turned out to be quite a challenge, because let's face it, peer review is not exactly one of your universally fascinating topics. So I ended up with 4 really solid beta testers who were very unruly and had lots of needs and demands, and actually made the project quite interesting. And I finally compiled and evaluated the results. I'm going to do a cop-out on the demo, because when I did it in rehearsal yesterday, we had glitches. So what I'm going to show you are screenshots. Well, I'll show you some little Captivates, so you can see kind of how those went. So the general structure of each unit was that some information was presented very briefly in a Captivate. That was the core learning that I wanted them to achieve. Often laid out learning objectives for that unit, although not always. I then brought in other learning resources, such as if there was a YouTube video available or an online article or whatever that was relevant. We brought those things in. And then in some of the units, they had to do some reflection, and you'll see some examples of that in a second, and then a quiz at the end. So this is an example of one of the very short lessons.
This unit describes some of the differences between scholarly journals and other kinds of publications. You'll learn what are the most important features that define a scholarly journal, activities are included in this unit. You will view a video tutorial, use your library website or Google Scholar to find a scholarly journal website, and then describe features that would help you recognize a publication that is not scholarly. Information is available to people in many forms. Here are just a few of them.
Then a short reflection, and this ended up functioning as a essay quiz question. But I did not expect it. It was not graded in the sense that if they got it wrong, there was a problem. There wasn't. Oh, so let's type something in there, hopefully. There we go. And then here's some key information that they then will get reinforced later and then have to use in an evaluation. And then back to the You Learn course, learning management system, where they complete the activities, take their quiz, and move on to the next unit. Okay, I was going to show you 3 of those, but I think it's too boring for that, so let's not do that. We'll do something else instead. Okay, so some examples of learning activities. In one instance, for example, I created a Word form where they had to actually fill things in, type their name, answer a question, and make some notes. And the purpose of this one was when they were looking around for a journal where they might actually want to publish their own work. This was one instance. This is the one, I'm actually particularly proud of this. So often what we ask for assessment from people is, give me some answers to quiz questions, and so the student then parrots back what they learned. What I asked them to do, and I use this technique actually quite a lot, I don't think you can see it very well, for which I apologize, is I ask them the opposite. What isn't it? Here we learned what it is, whatever it we're discussing. Okay, what isn't it? So hopefully that stimulates a little bit of critical thinking. The quizzes, again, I won't go into these in a whole lot of detail, but each one of them, each unit had quizzes that I think were, if you hadn't been through the module, you probably wouldn't know the answers, hopefully. So it's a 6-unit module. It teaches basic information about the 3 topics I mentioned. From an evaluation point of view, the project success was mixed, I would have to say. They didn't perform as well on the formative assessments as I had expected them to. I had expected 93, 95%, something like that. And what I actually got was something around 87, 85. So it was significantly lower than I expected, but still a pretty decent performance. Summative module evaluations were considerably more positive and also more useful than I had expected. I got deep, reflective answers from my participants. And when I saw the less than expected performance on the formative, our first reaction always is to somehow rationalize that. Oh, well, they didn't have a stake in the outcome. No, the module needed tweaking. So, and they were very helpful in helping me know what those tweaks needed to be. What's the future? I intended to continue development. I think there's a need and a market for that here at CSUMB and in other universities as well. And with the input with the experience that I gained and from the input from my participants, I have a lot of confidence about a really positive outcome. And these are some examples of things that they asked for. They loved the voiceover. Every single one of them loved the voiceover. Hated the essay questions, and asked for actually more feedback during the assessment. So I will absolutely make all those changes. Every project brings surprises, as I mentioned. Some tasks were easier, some tasks were more challenging. And for my thank yous, I particularly want to thank my advisor, Dr. Tao. As was previously noted, he keeps himself available, he's encouraging, he makes great suggestions, and it wouldn't have it wouldn't have been as good as it is if it weren't for him. All the instructors in MIST deserve thanks and appreciation for their efforts and for their knowledge and for their willingness and ability to share it. In particular, I want to thank my original MIST team from quite a long time ago, MIST 4. None of them are here, and although one of them wanted to be and couldn't. And in particular, I want to thank Beverly Oviedo, who also was a MIST 4 colleague, though I did not work with her during the program, but she's been a really important figure in my getting this done since that time. So what comes next? I'm actually looking forward to the next project. And most important, good luck and Godspeed to all of us. Thank you.